Hi, Broadway fans. We have Jesus and his disciples in the last week of his life, and it's told through rock. We're talking Jesus Christ Superstar. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and
Why'd you let the things you did get so out of hand? You'd have managed better if you'd had a plan.
Broadway
Why
breakdown.
did you choose such a backwards time in such a strange land? If you'd come to
And it just, the girls, when the girls come in during this part,
Yes,
right
absolutely.
after, I feel like, I don't know, because it's also with Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, they have the little three girls and stuff. I'm like, does he always, in any religious storytelling, have to have three women backup dancers?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus had style more than anything else. And, I mean, it's like, the old days in like the 70s in the shows that were like the June Taylor dancers, solid gold dancers. You always need to have dancers.
You need to have those.
Jesus initiated that. And this wasn't just for the rock opera. This was the actual Jesus of Nazareth. Boy, I hope that wasn't blasphemy, anybody watching.
The actual Jesus had back dancers. We know Kristian was there.
I mean, my name's Kristian, so I'm going to say that I'm an authority on
It's
this.
very true.
Yeah, kind
Hey
of.
guys, thank you for joining us. Like I said, we're going to be talking Jesus Christ Superstar, but before that, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Briana Phipps. You can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat, and I am joined by, as we said, Kristian over here. Where can they find you, Kristian?
You can find me at KristianDMZ, and I have my own personal private, not even private, very public podcast called the Blattcast, BLADTCAST, and I'm all over AfterBuzz, the sister network over there. You can find me.
We were trying initially to have this show closer to Easter,
Yeah.
because it makes sense, but schedules didn't work out that way, unfortunately.
No, yeah, I was actually, in my mind, it was actually on Easter, and I kind of checked, and I'm like, okay, good, because, it's a busy day. There's rabbits to see and everything like that,
Yeah.
but, so I'm actually glad we had a
everything
little
to do
time.
with the
We
Word
could
of
have a lot
Christ.
more time to focus on the musical, and, I haven't been on since we did the Rocky Horror Show.
I know, it's
and
been
on-
like a half a year.
Yeah, and on that show, we dressed up in costumes, but this one I didn't think it was appropriate
Well, as
to
a-
dress up like Judas or something.
I mean, as most people in this show, which we're going to talk about the costumes later, though, don't really have specific costumes. There's only a couple that have kind of specific
Yeah,
costumes.
that's true.
The rest are kind of just like modern day clothing.
But as we sort of talk about some of the characters in the show itself, I'll talk about how the different interpretations of King Herod are a favorite of mine. So if I did dress up, I would have come in as King Herod, yeah. And I also would have had a bunch of backup dancers.
Well, let's talk just about our overall thoughts of this musical, because I know that you saw this musical one way before I did, because I only saw it like a couple years ago. And you've seen the actual touring company, whereas I've only seen a college production.
Right. So I have seen this 3 times, and that, of course, this week is not the movie. That's next week. But I had seen the movie countless times as a kid. My mom had the soundtrack to the Broadway recording, the original Broadway cast recording, and she would listen to it a lot. So it's sort of like the songs all kind of ran together with like Sunday school songs in my head because they were all about Jesus. And you kind of have to remember which place you're in as to which ones you can actually sing. In Sunday school, the temple is kind of frowned upon. But I did get to see a revival of it where it was not an official Broadway production, but it was like on 42nd Street. So like adjacent to Broadway, the 2000 revival. And I was very excited. The cast really isn't anyone that, unless you're like hardcore theater fans, which I guess if you're watching this, you might, that people don't really know. It doesn't have, like the flashy, recognizable names, somebody taking a hiatus from their TV show to be Jesus. It wasn't a gimmicky production like that, but I mean, it was great. And the music is so good to begin with. So I saw that.
Was this Andrew Lloyd Webber first, or was one of his first if it was not his first?
It's one of his first for sure, yeah. And for those watching on YouTube, you can see I actually have my stage bill from 2000. I was, about a week ago, I was looking for some other things, and I'm like, oh my God, I need this for when I'm on Broadway Breakdown. So there it is. It's only 17 years old, but it'll be able to buy cigarettes next year.
It's exactly 17 years old because I saw on April 16th is the date on that.
Oh, look at that. I didn't even realize, yeah.
By like 2 weeks off, exactly.
Wow.
17 years old.
Well, see, again, around Easter, and that's when, yeah. So I saw that, but I also was fortunate enough to see 2 different versions of a touring company, and I think 2007, 2008, somewhere in that range, both with Ted Neely from the movie again, next week we'll talk about him. But he was Jesus in it, and he was kind of returning to the role for the first time in a while, and it was fantastic. I mean, the Broadway version was great. It was bigger, definitely some more money behind it. But to get to see Ted Neely from the movie, whom I saw many times as a kid, because my mom had it on VHS. And I just, it was great to get to see him. And very nice man. He had been on a radio show I worked on, so I got to meet him afterwards. But when you meet him, he needs a lot of time after the show. He doesn't come out dressed like Jesus for when you meet him, which I
doesn't
completely...
come out and bless you.
Yeah, which, I could have used some blessing, but I completely understood that we had to wait a little while for him. But it was great.
And Jesus is one of the only people that is in this full-on costume and makeup going on.
Yeah, I mean, in the different, especially, again, to keep talking about the movie, sorry, but yeah, especially in the movie you see, but in any of the versions that I saw, and I don't know about the college production you saw.
The one I saw was very different because Jesus wasn't, I've seen, through the Tony Awards and through my parents having seen it, that Jesus is always dressed kind of as traditionally what paintings and stuff perceive Jesus as. In the one I saw, which was CCSF, which is City College of San Francisco, everyone was dressed in steampunk, including Jesus.
That's kind of cool, though. I mean, I like that. I mean, it's a very specific choice, but I like that as a theme.
Yeah, I mean, it worked with the music. Judas had long dreads. It was very San Francisco. I'll say that for it. But yeah, it was even Jesus. He was more traditionally, I guess, because he had white pants and a longer white shirt, but it wasn't the white gown, and he didn't have long hair.
Whoa, short-haired Jesus.
And they never put a crown on him.
Oh, that's interesting.
The crown thorn on him.
Yeah. But, and that was just a few years ago. So you had never seen an actual production of it, but you just knew the songs.
Yeah, I mean, my mom is a big fan of this musical and has always been. This one, I've always liked these songs more so as opposed to Joseph. I was never as big into Joseph.
Yeah.
They were a little too campy for me. So I like the rock feel because it works better with the stuff that I've listened to growing up and everything like that.
Yeah, there's a reason that
an 80s child.
Yeah, there's a reason that Donny Osmond was in Technicolor Dreamcoat
Yes.
and not Jesus Christ
Yes.
Superstar. It's a lot more pop rock, whereas these are actual rock songs. A 90s band that I'm a big fan of, this band, the Afghan Whigs, they're not a grunge band, but sort of that time period. Their Congregation album from 1992, they have the Temple on it, just randomly amongst the other songs that they wrote. They have a cover of the Temple, and I mean, it's just sort of. The music is so different than even the quintessential rock opera. I think still has to be Tommy, and it's different than that even. It tells a very gruesome story when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, and I would also put in because one of the original rock operas is
Godspell.
Well, Godspell, but no, why am I blanking on it? Aquarius and Hair.
Oh, Hair, which I've also seen. Yeah,
I've seen Hair. Yes,
yeah.
That's a great production too. But the thing that I like about Jesus Christ Superstar and stuff, it's kind of similar to me as in what Hamilton kind of did for the storytelling of the forefathers for kids. This is a great way to get younger people in to hear the story of Christ and stuff through tellings of this with this music that they can relate to.
Yeah,
and
no,
it
absolutely.
Makes I went to Sunday school every week.
Every Sunday
as a kid. And you're there, but you're not really paying attention. You're there because you have to be there.
Yeah.
And stuff. And and listening to this music, with Pontius Pilate and stuff, I kind of connected the dots a little easier in my head as to what the story really was, how much of it was fictionalized or not, via the Bible actual reading story.
Yeah, no. I mean, the comparison to Hamilton is a good one. It takes a story that is kind of inaccessible to a huge segment of especially younger people, and it just presents it to them in a way that obviously, I don't know. I was about to say that. To younger kids that Jesus Christ Superstar might sound outdated. And sure, to some extent that's true. But in the same way that if The Who and the Rolling Stones don't sound outdated to you, then this musical won't either. So there's plenty of kids who like the classic rock. It's definitely classic rock.
Yeah. And I don't think classic rock ever goes out of style.
Yeah, that's why it's classic. It's not just old rock.
Yes, exactly. And they have updated it. If you watch the different versions and stuff, the original version, everyone was dressed in these very weird, like if you watch, they have the 1970 won Tony Awards where they have them, and they have these huge weird hats on with like these like they tried to dress them more, I guess, in like Bible clothing. And then if you look now, it's like Judas is almost like one of those gospel people from TV.
Oh, like a televangelist, like I
like
know
he's
what you
wearing
mean.
like a sparkly shirt with like a purple jacket and pants. Like when we show the Tony Awards clip, you'll see what he was dressed like in 2012, I believe was the last time it was revived. And everyone else is pretty much, besides Jesus again, is dressed in just modern kind of dresses, very like indie. I want to like relate it to like kind of Coachella-y outfits.
Well, to your point about classic rock, though, there was my mom also had a CD. I believe it was the 25th anniversary production from London. And in that show, to refer again to one of my favorite characters, King Herod, he was portrayed by Alice Cooper, a musician that I'm a huge fan of. And if you think about that part, you know, for somebody that's a big showman, a big, you know, P.T. Barnum, you know, trying to pull a fast one on you, it's a great part for him. Also, I mean, you have one song. So if like you only have that song in the show, you know, it's not.
You gotta make the most of it.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the productions I saw were some very different interpretations. You know, one was like a guy who looked like Seth Rogen, and he was like very casual. And one was just a very effeminate, over the top, you know, a homosexual gentleman, and he was just so over the top. But it was great. He was so funny, and he had male backup dancers.
And with King Herod, because that part, not the one I saw, but I've heard that part is kind of like usually done kind of drag queen.
Yeah.
Which is probably why you want to dress as.
Yes.
because,
well, you know,
because it's the most fun.
Yes.
To dress as, and like you said, with that part, it's such a small part. You have to make the most of it. You have to like really edge it up there and like be this over the top presence because you only have that amount of time to connect with the audience.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's I think that's very much the case. You know, when I was in high school, I was in Once Upon a Mattress, and I was the mute king, which will tell you how great of a singer I was. But so I didn't get to talk until the very end. So I probably hammed it up a little bit, and you know, really tried to, you know, be like, I want them to remember that I was on this stage.
Those are the fun things about small parts. That's why they say there's no small parts, just small actors, because sometimes the smallest parts, like in Hamilton again, the king in that is one of the most fun parts of that show.
I don't know the music of Hamilton.
You don't know the music?
Well, the reason I don't is because I'm waiting until I see it. I did that with a musical once, and usually I try to not hear the songs until I actually see it, which I know.
Well, not to give anything away.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, I would understand. I know enough about the real life story that I know that the king would be
Jonathan
involved.
Groff, who played the original king. It's just his role is, you know, one of the only very comedic parts of that show.
Right.
So when you get those parts, like you can do almost anything you want with them because you can make it your own because it's so small. You don't have to conform to what's been done before in any sort of way if you don't want to. And I think that that's what are great about these small parts is that you can just take it past there because you only have that much time, and because if you go too far, it's 5 minutes of the show. Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. I think you just want to make your mark, and especially if you're lucky enough to get that part and you're, you know, maybe early in your career, it's a great showcase to try and get something bigger.
If you're able to take a small part and have the audience leave and remember you over other people, like that's saying
something. No, that's very true. Yeah, I in terms of there being small actors, I feel like I was probably a relatively small actor, but I tried to do the best with the abilities that I had. But yeah.
Well, let's talk about the set with this because okay, so tell me. I know the set I saw, which I know is not the Broadway set, but I don't think any, at least from what I've seen, that any set is that big with this show.
No, and what I remember about all of them, you know, there was a little bit more to the Broadway one, but they're all fairly sparse. You know, it kind of just deals with, you know, a couple of, you know, light props added into the mix. You know, this wasn't like going to see like American Idiot where, you know, there's like ladders and, you know, all these things going all over the place. It's fairly low key, I think. And, you know, it didn't detract from, sometimes when the sets are too sparse and there's like, you know, nothing on the stage and I have to use too much of my imagination, it can take away from the story a little bit. So there's the right amount.
When the sets are too vast, then it also takes away because you're too distracted.
Yeah, because when they're really complicated, I'm interested in how they move moved them, and I'm just like watching, when the lights are down.
I mean, I don't take for granted it was a small production, but I did see a show that they wanted to do these like more intense sets and stuff, but it took them, I think, 2 to 3 minutes every time they needed to change the set.
Yeah.
So it takes you out of it when you have to wait for sets to change.
That's
so
a long
in
time.
those cases, I'd rather have like a very sparse set like this one, where we can just continue with the story, especially because there's no breaks in this story. Like the singing, there's no talking. They just go from song to song to song.
Which is interesting because in general, I kind of like when there's the conversation to break up a musical, but in this one, I don't think that would have helped. It also would have made it much longer, but I feel like...
Because this is... it's like about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's not that long of a musical.
No, it's not that long.
Hedwig is also about the same time frame.
Now, Hedwig's one where I only saw the movie, so I actually never saw a stage production of it. But the movie came first, so...
I mean, it's the same as where there's no intermission.
Yeah.
It's just straight through. It's about an hour and a half, and it's... In Hedwig, there's talking, obviously, because he talks to the audience. But it's almost weird for me to go see a musical and there not to be an intermission because I'm so used to having an intermission.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what's going on?
Well, then you got to make sure you go to the bathroom before it starts because you're not going to get to go during, and,
I mean,
when
the
am I going to
production
get my
I saw,
snack?
It was a little rough. The guy, and it wasn't because of the show. I don't think it was just the guy playing Judas. He was doing a very like death metal-y kind of thing, which was cool, but it made it hard to understand.
Oh, yeah.
Some of like what he was saying or going on. So I had to like go back and like re-listen to the songs and be like, wait, what was happening at that part? So that for that reason alone, just the complete singing was like a little hard to take sometimes. Yeah,
no, I can see that. It's funny, as you were talking about Judas, I was thinking back to what we were saying about this being a way to help bring this story, the Christ story, to younger people. I do wonder how many people grew up and just assumed that Judas was black because in most productions that I know of and in the movie he always was. Mm-hmm. But obviously when, you're reading the Bible in Sunday school, it's not something that they don't really talk about that he isn't. You just assume, of course, that everybody looks like Jesus in the painting, and I mean everybody from the Last Supper. So you're like, well, yeah, there's Judas.
I think I just was like, I saw the paintings and stuff and like, but I think in my head partly because of where I grew up and because I had a lot of like friends that were Jewish and Middle Eastern and stuff, I just figured everyone was Middle Eastern.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. I know.
So not black or white.
Yeah, I know. I mean, think about the trouble that Madonna got in her video for Like a Prayer when, Jesus was not white. I mean, there were some other problems with that video, but, they had, it's sort of a scandalous concept, but it's weird because I have to imagine in the early 70s there was outrage over this, but now it's almost to the point where it's like, oh, there's so many bigger problems, a rock musical about the Jesus story. At least it's the story of Jesus,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that once you get past the point that it is rock music about, the resurrection, it's...
The weirder part for me about the whole play, and like something that I never got growing up, like hearing the stories of the Bible and stuff, is like Jesus came across to me in this show as he's a little whiny.
A little bit, yeah.
And you're always perceiving him growing up as like this like very peaceful man, this man that like knows his destiny, that knows what's gonna do, and he's fine with it. And here he's just like over everything.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a weird interpretation for me too. It made sense. It was like angsty Jesus.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. He is very angsty. He's very needy, but at the same time,
he's like telling his dad, "Just take me now.
Yeah.
Like, why are you gonna make me wait?" And then when everyone's coming and asking for help, he's like, "I can't help you. Help yourselves." Like,
yeah,
that's
right.
not how you perceive Jesus when you're reading the Bible.
No, it's very true. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way, but I think that it is definitely not the I guess it's not the Passion of the Christ Jesus. I'm trying to think of, it's not the last temptation of Christ Jesus. I'm trying to think of other movies.
I like to think of it as like Jesus in his early 20s in a modern day.
Yeah, it's like Jesus, the college years. It's like just sort of a little bit different than what we get. A little bit, the way that the story is usually told. Yeah, but it's funny. I didn't think about it until you said it, but he's not as tough as you might expect him to be, but he's Jesus. He's just like
by the end, he gets there.
Oh, he has to, yeah.
But during the show, there's parts where he's tough, and then there's parts where he's just like, screw all this.
Yeah.
May I interject for a moment?
Yes.
Please do.
Hi, everybody. Mark in the booth here. I'm a big fan of the show, and to me, this representation of the character of Jesus is more of the man instead of the Son of God. So, how would a man who's lived his whole life knowing that he has to make this big sacrifice. He can't get too close to anybody. He can't make too many friends. How would he be forced to react to all of this outrageousness, which is what I always took from it.
Yeah. That's a good point.
No, I think, yes, you're told that you're the son of God and you are, but as Mark said, he's still a man.
They even show that within the music when he, at the end, when they're like, you're the son of God, and he goes, that you say I am.
Yeah.
Like, he never during it says, I am the son of God.
Yeah, no, actually, that's true. That's, and he's not even saying he is, and he still gets crucified for it. So, yeah.
He's just like saying, like, that's what you say. I'm just here. That's what you're saying. I'm just doing my thing. What is your favorite song from this musical?
So as I got older, because of these later interpretations and hearing the Alice Cooper version, I really liked King Herod's song. My old boss, I used to work for Dennis Miller's radio show. He's a huge fan of this musical, so we would do like bumper music Wednesday, and we would play all songs from this throughout the day. Gethsemane was always his, and I would hear it so much. There's like a note that, depending on which cast it is, but the version we would use was the one from the movie. You would hear Ted Neely hit this like crazy high note in that song. So I think that the song that you just sort of get the most uplifting feeling, though, is, of course, the Superstar song. I mean, it's hard not to have that one. But
I mean, that's the one you think of when you think of the show.
It's always the one I think of first. And, as I said, the sort of hearing that song, The Temple, out of context on the album by that band, the Afghan Whigs, it's like I always knew the song, I always heard it, but just when you hear it, mixed in with other songs, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of a really cool, like dark, I mean, if you think about what they're talking about in the course of what's actually going on, sort of the seedy underbelly of Jerusalem at that point, it's kind of I don't know, that's a great one. But if I have to pick one, I'm going to stick with Superstar, because, you feel like that is the song about this. But what about you, Brie?
I am partial to I Don't Know How to Love Him.
That one is also very good. Yeah, it's
just it's like one of the only songs in it that kind of brings it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of goes with this sweet mellow vibe instead of this harsh vibe. Plus, I'm a girl. So it's easier for me to sing those kind of things.
Literally in my head, I'm trying to think of like, well, how do I say it's like, well, you're a girl, so odds were pretty good you're going to be drawn to that one. But look, that's a great song for whomever has the female lead in the play to actually get that opportunity is great to get to sing that song, And, you don't always get the best parts written for women, maybe in some of your rock operas, But I'm sure someone could tell me that I'm wrong if they feel like they need to tweet at me. I'm sure I'm offending some theater goers out there.
I would say, like, that's correct. From what I'm thinking, I'm trying to think of, like, the rock operas I know, and for the most part, most of the songs are male.
Yeah.
Like,
and the ones you remember.
Even in Hair, like, a majority of them are male songs. Or compiled with female and male.
Yeah, and I think Hair is one of those ones that you kind of mostly, maybe I guess a little bit Age of Aquarius, but it's like the title song is really the one you think of. And then for me personally, even though I saw it, I don't really think about much else, So I can't even think about what songs, have like female vocals or even solos in it.
It's terrible because I think the one female song I think of from that show is the the Air song.
Oh,
air is everywhere.
That's right. I forgot about. There's a reason I forgot about that one. Maybe
it's not a.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Back to this musical.
Man, I need to find. See, now what we're talking about, it's like I need to find a local production of this where I can bribe somebody to just let me play King Herod for 5 minutes a night. Like that's all. That's all I need.
Let's just rent out a theater.
Let's do it. Let's put on a show.
Let's put on a show.
It's a great idea. We're taking applications for Jesus.
If you're in the LA area.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's true. We're not gonna fly you out, so you have to be local.
Or you can fly yourself out.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. And you can mention it in the comments on the YouTube page.
And Mark, since you're such a fan of the show too, so which song is your song?
I would have to say there's two that I totally agree with. The Temple. I absolutely love The Temple by Ted Neely, and Heaven on Their Minds. I love I love a good quote villain song, but the story that it tells from the very top of just like, hey man, come on, we're friends, let's hang out, let's lay low for a little while, till like, you don't understand, man, we're gonna die. I just love the arc that it takes and the intensity that it gets to. I love that song.
That really is the game over man moment
Seriously.
of the musical. Mark.
I can't believe we just related it to Game Over, man.
Come on, that's the best thing about it. It's a very pop culture interpretation of.
I mean, this is a classic story that was taken, broken completely apart, and
reassembled. Yeah,
reassembled.
exactly. It's an old reference, sorry, but it's the $6 Million Man. I wish I could think of something more contemporary, but that's what I had, so I stayed. It's like Wolverine. There you go. That's more contemporary. But anyway, yeah, I think, and that's really what it does. Yeah, it reassembles this story that. It's one of those stories that's so oddly simple but insanely complicated when you think about it. It's like, okay, so you have this guy, he's the son of God. All right, let's go on from there,
Well, and it's crazy because it is just like a week span.
Yeah.
And you go through a lot through the music in this 1 week. So there's like so much emotions happening for everybody. I mean, you have Judas who's just convinced that Jesus is doing too much and he needs to put a stop to it because he's going to get them all killed. And you have Jesus with his angst and everything. You have Mary Magdalene with her like fears and insecurities and not knowing how to love him. Like you have so much going on and so many different people in this show. I mean, mainly those three because the other people are kind of there. I mean,
yeah. No, you're definitely overshadowed by the key characters, and I would say Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and Judas really, they drive the majority of the story.
Yeah,
obviously.
Mainly Jesus and Judas.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, of course.
Which is, when you're dealing with the crucifixion of Jesus, Judas was the one that betrayed him. So, it makes sense.
Spoiler alert, maybe not everybody's seen the story yet.
Spoiler alert if you don't know.
If you don't know what happened, yeah. And Jesus comes back 3 days later. But anyway.
Not in this show.
Not in this show. I know, I was always waiting for the sequel, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Sorry, that just made me think of Hamlet 2.
Oh.
That movie,
yeah,
Hamlet
the movie
2.
Hamlet 2.
We'll do that with Jesus Christ Superstar.
Jesus Christ Superstar. Easter Sunday,
Jesus
or
Christ,
something.
2 per star.
Oh man!
God.
Can we edit that out so that we can save that and not let anybody steal it from us?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
All right, Mark's executive producer.
It almost sounds like Superstar.
Well, that's probably what the reviews would say if we made that show.
And now let's talk about towards like kind of the ending of it, because you do have this monumental part where he is being crucified. You know, where we have the whipping of him, but it's all, at least in the production I saw, it was all done through, your mind. There was no actual whip. It was just someone.
The one that I saw with Ted Neely, and I know that Mark actually saw the same production, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. I remember I believe he actually, I think they have the robe off, and he is getting whipped, but we don't, we just see the whip, like the whip is cracking near him.
In my production, they took his shirt off, and you heard it, but there was nothing in his hand.
Yeah.
And then same with the cross. There was no. He was just this. There was nothing that he was actually like on. Yeah,
and then now it's like I'm wondering if my memory's failing me, because I remember there actually being a cross that.
There might have been. Like I said, I didn't. See
her
the Broadway
show. Mark, what do you remember from when you saw this production?
I definitely remember there being a cross for the crucifixion part. In terms of the lashing, I think the guy had something in his hand, but there were no actual lashes coming out of the handle.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So that the movements were there and the sound was there, but
the sound was very jarring. It sounds like in the one that Bree saw too.
Sometimes having that is a lot more impactful though. Not seeing something happen, just like having your imagination, like you see the front of him, you hear that, and in your mind you're imagining what's happening.
And then the dude with the whip can go ham and just go super super heavy with the force, and it looks
because he doesn't have
to worry about actually hurting
him.
Yeah. Right.
That would be a very different production.
That would be a very difficult thing to do, on Sunday when you have a matinee and an evening show, to actually get whipped twice throughout the course of it. But
how many shows have you done in your life? Just one.
I was out after the first.
Oh, like how many? No, just one night. I couldn't.
That was all I could do. It's very somber, because there is the moment when, whether there's a cross in the production you see or not, he's up there and you're like, yeah, this is what it's all about. This is what ultimately happened.
This is what we were working.
Yeah, this is what he allowed to have happen to him, because he's the son of God. You feel like he could have stopped it at some point along the way, but it's just
he had to die first.
Exactly, he had to.
This is destiny.
Or did he find out in Superstar? Oh no, I gave it away again. I'm sorry. But anyway, it's weird because a lot of your musicals certainly don't end on a downer.
No.
You know, and you
Which,
can
I mean-
you can take this as a positive. It can be inspirational and all that, but it's not like and everybody lived happily ever after.
No, it's not. But I mean, you can take it in a slightly positive light of the fact of like Judas. I mean, Judas does die, but then he comes to that realization of everything after the fact and sings that one song to Jesus. Like, I think it's just, you know, you have that reality of like, this was always going to happen. No matter what happened, no matter if Judas did or didn't betray him, this was the ending result, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I mean, I think if you see the show, you probably know the original Bible story. So you know that it's not necessarily a bad ending for him. Like, you know, he was resurrected 3 days later and he gets to be reunited with his father in heaven and stuff. So you can like look at it in some positivity.
Yes. No, that's what I was trying to say is you can find the ending, you know, leads to something inspirational, but the actual what takes place on the stage and then, you know, fade to black. Yeah, that's and that's why, you know, it's like, well, at least when the cast comes out to take their bow, you do finally get to see Jesus again. You're like, okay, good, he's all right. All right, good. I didn't have to worry about him, you know. So,
He's fine.
He's all right. Yeah, he made it.
Well, let's go ahead and show. I'm going to bring up the Tony Award.
Oh yeah,
video.
I'm excited because I've actually never seen this. So.
And this has been revived 3 times. So the original in 1970. 2 was nominated for Best Performance by a Featured Actor in a Musical, Best Original Score, Best Scenic Design, Best Costume Design, and Best Lighting Design. In 2000, it was nominated for Best Revival of a Musical. In 2012, Best Revival of a Musical, and Best Performance by a Featured Actor in a Musical for Josh Young. It has never won a Tony Award once.
For any category.
Yeah,
wow.
in the original or in any of the revivals. It's been nominated, but it has never won a Tony Award.
Man, and I bet Godspell and Joseph have. So, you know, it's the one where Jesus is the star. He doesn't win. But you know what?
I found that very interesting, though, that it has never won anything.
It could be one of those things, though, when you look at what the, you know, sometimes this happens with the Academy Awards. You're like, how did that not win? And then you look at what else was nominated, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
Yeah.
I didn't look up what was also nominated this year.
Yeah.
But I just, I don't know, it just seemed like a show that it's very beloved, and I felt like it would have at least won once.
Yeah, I mean, for something, you
something.
know, I mean, but I don't know. Maybe it's tough for revivals to win, although I feel like Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum did okay, and the producers, so.
Yeah. Well, let's watch the video, and you guys can decide for yourself if it would have deserved to win.
Every time I look at you, I don't understand why you let the things you dig get so out of hand. You never managed better if you had it planned. Why'd you choose such a backward timing, such a strange land? If you'd come today, you could have reached the whole nation. Israeli for BC had no mass communication. Don't you get me wrong. Don't you get me wrong now. Don't you get me wrong. Don't you get me wrong. Only wanna know. Only wanna know. Only wanna know. I only wanna know.
Jesus Christ, who are you? What have you sacrificed? Jesus Christ, who are you? What have you sacrificed? Jesus Christ, superstar. Do you think you're what they say you are? Jesus Christ, superstar. Do you think you're what they say you are?
What you think about your friends at the top? Who'd you think besides yourself was a pick of the crop? Who knows what you wearing, Dad? Is he where you are? Could Mohammed move a mountain, or was that just PR? Did you mean to die like that? Was that a mistake? Or did you know your messy death would be a record breaker? Don't you get me wrong. Don't you get me wrong now. Don't you get me wrong. Don't you get me wrong. Only wanna know. Only wanna know now. Only wanna know. I only wanna know.
Jesus Christ,
This part kind
You
of
have
freaks
heard
me
that
out.
it has been said
Yeah.
what have you
that you should love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. Pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father. He makes his sun rise on the just and sends rain on the just.
I do love the blue suit with the silky satin
Do you
shirt.
see what I
though.
mean by like the gospel kind of like
Yeah, no, that's
TV preachers?
Yeah, like the guy that works himself up into a sweat and starts crying about, how much sin there is in the world. Yeah, no, that's I mean, I certainly get that interpretation, and I don't. It's very interesting to have seen that. I don't even think I realized there was this revival in 2012. Yeah, 'cause, I
watch the Tony Awards every year, so that's.
I have
that's how I
watched it
know.
a number of years. Usually, there's one or two like performances I want to. I don't know why I missed that one, but yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but like the one thing that is a little weird because they have that bare bones, but then they have the girls dancing, and then like the white, them dancing like almost like, but in that large form on that within the white kind of
The
silhouette.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And it just reminds me of like the old iTunes ads,
oh,
the iPods and stuff.
That's so funny because what it reminds me is a much more like old Hollywood, but way before my time. But Dean Martin used to have the Gold Diggers, the little dancers that came out with him, and it was just sort of like it's like a very like 60s, 70s like swinging Hollywood kind of thing. Not even old Hollywood, but yeah, it's yours is a much more because they're telling a much more modern thing than the
Version,
70s.
yeah.
But I think that yeah, it's.
I think with a show like this, because it is a modern telling of it, you're gonna have to, anytime you revive it, make it a little more modern, because what was modern in the 70s is definitely not modern anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's very true. So
Also, Kristian, I'll give you $5 to pick out King Herod from this line.
ooh. I'm gonna say that it's the guy second from the end and like the red
Oh no, how could you figure it out?
the red dress.
It's so impossible to decide.
Yeah. But by the way, as we're looking at this freeze frame, Mark, the guy third from the left in the purple jacket, I would love to own that jacket. If it's
100 I almost got married in a jacket like that.
Did you really?
Yeah, I really wanted a purple jacket. Like I assume that's Pilot.
yeah,
I'm gonna assume that's Pontius Pilate
yeah,
as well.
he at the very least he should have the flashiest jacket. He should be dressed like a pimp.
I feel like that reminds you just like it's almost like he's trying to be Prince.
Which, if only Prince had
Maybe
ever.
just in my head, purple suits are Prince.
Yeah, just to think of like, I know this wasn't something we prepared, but what song from this musical would be best sung by Prince? Most of them, but I don't
I
have
think
a good
Prince would
answer.
do a fun job with Herod.
Yeah. Oh my God, forget it. Like, also, by the way, Herod would have like a 7-minute guitar solo in that sense, but it's not like anybody would be like, "Oh, come on, Herod." But that would actually have been pretty awesome.
It would be like every time they tried to move forward, all of a sudden another guitar thing would happen.
Yeah,
It would be
right.
like, oh, it's ending. Let me start my line. Nope. Oh,
Nope.
Still going. So that's about all I have for this musical, unless there's anything you want to add before we end.
No, because there's so much to say about the
movie.
movie, and it's it's been a lot of like trying to be restrained because I was very glad to get to see any productions of it, and I was glad to see a Broadway revival, and just to get to see Ted Neely, Jesus from the movie, to get to see that twice was great, and it's a great show, and Very few Broadway shows I feel like are as important to me just growing up as this one. You know, like Grease is fun. I got to see a production of Grease with Rosie O'Donnell's Rizzo. That was a lot of fun.
But there's musicals that are fun, and there's musicals that like leave you with something.
Yeah, right, exactly. This one, I don't know. This one was always very important, probably because it was so important to my mom. You know, she'd like taped it off of TV, so we like had it with like commercials in it. But we
I
would
was saying
watch
that
a lot.
last week because we were talking Peter Pan last week, and I had as a kid the Mary Martin.
Peter Pan, sure, yeah,
taped off of TV.
yeah.
So I understand that.
Yeah, those are the ones to identify with. But no, I mean, look, I'm very excited to also get to talk about the movie. But you know, I could talk about this musical every week. So it's good that you're only focusing on it for 2 weeks because eventually people will get tired.
Well, like Kristian said, we will be talking the movie next week. We'll be relating it to the musical to see like the kind of differences and similarities it has, for good or for worse.
Can we tell people you have actually
I have
never seen the
never
movie
seen the
yet?
movie. I will
I'm
be
very,
watching it
I'm very excited for you to
at
see
some
it.
point, probably Friday or Saturday, because I like to watch it right before, so
Yeah.
it can be really fresh in my mind. But yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I've heard it's very interesting.
It's very appropriate for the time period that it was made in.
made.
Yeah, that's all I will say.
I mean that's part of the reason I love doing this show is because I get to go back and like see some of these things that I've never seen before and get to experience them because I am such a musical lover. But it is hard sometimes with shows that aren't currently touring or anything like that to see them or to know them or like to think like, oh, I should go watch that movie I've never seen. So that it's going to be fun for me.
I'm very excited to hear what you think about it, especially, you know, getting to see it, see this movie, this like 45-year-old movie for the first time.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that next Sunday. You'll be back for that.
I will be back, yes.
And we'll hopefully we'll have a couple other people that weren't able to make it today because of daytime Emmys and stuff. But so that'll be next week.
But we didn't get nominated for daytime Emmys, so we're here. Yeah.
So we're here.
Yeah.
Before we end the show, though, I do have just a couple. I have a Broadway news thing, and then
I'll talk about something. Sure.
you'll talk about something.
You go first, though. Of course,
it's not so much Broadway, but for the live action Lion King, we did find out this week who will be Timon and Pumbaa, which are Billy Eichner from Billy on the Street. If you don't know who Billy Eichner is,
by the way, yeah.
And Seth Rogen, who in my head before I even saw it, I was like, okay, I know exactly who's playing who.
Let me think about that. Yes, of course. But
you know, Seth Rogen's totally Timon. You know.
Yeah, right. Of course he is. Great choices, though, both of them.
I think they both fit. I think the only hard part, and it would have been hard no matter who they chose, is that Nathan Lane and I forget the actor who played Pumbaa in the cartoon. They're so, at least for people of my generation that watched that movie so many times and know it by heart.
I wish I could remember that actor's name. He's
I know, I
great. He's
can't.
so good, and he's also done other things. But did you say Ernie Sabella? Yeah, I think he's definitely like he was a stage actor that I think got this opportunity, and
And
then
same with Nathan Lane.
Right? Yeah, exactly. This was like Nathan Lane before he was like Nathan
Before
Lane.
people knew
Yeah,
him
like
as much. Like people from theater knew him.
people,
but
yeah,
not
like especially in New
necessarily-
York, you knew him pretty much. You know,
I mean, after
from,
producers, I think everyone knows
Yeah.
who he is. But I think it's just going to be hard no matter who it is to like hear other voices as those characters. But it's at least it won't be like hearing them come out of the cartoon's voice. Like,
right, yeah. If they just redubbed the cartoon with Seth Rogen's voice or something, yeah, that would. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to that too.
Pumbaa being I feel like I'm just imagining Pumbaa laughing like Seth Rogen.
He has a very unique laugh,
Distinct
yeah.
laugh,
And
yeah.
and I just hope that they don't try to have him like surrounded by clouds of smoke or anything because
Yeah.
he's Seth Rogen.
I mean, that's the hard part whenever you cast someone that has such a noticeable voice. It was my problem with Jungle Book. With having
Christopher
Walken.
Yeah.
It's people that have those such noticeable voices. It's hard to hear them as a character as opposed to just who they are.
Yeah, I liked the movie version of the Jungle Book, but I know exactly
I
what
didn't
you're saying.
dislike it.
Yeah,
But I just
it's sometimes you can't separate the actor from the
I also was
performance.
laughing at the fact that they changed it from orangutan to I can't remember what the name.
Gigantic.
Is. Something.
Yeah,
or
I don't
other.
even know.
Yeah, that one.
It's a good thing Mark's here.
I know, right?
It's really compensating for the fact that I'm not very smart.
But I was just laughing that they were like, okay, we have to make sure that's right because that's not indigenous to this area. But then you have like a New Jersey accent coming out of it.
Right, exactly. I don't know. But and the live action Lion King, how far off is that? Is that still a couple years? Or?
Yeah, I think it either comes. I think it comes out 2018 or
Okay.
19. I can't remember 100%. And I know they've only announced those two: Donald Glover as Simba and James Earl Jones will reprise Mufasa.
I mean,
Because I don't think you
you
could
want
have
to talk
anyone else
about
play
it.
Mufasa.
That's really hard to try and get somebody else. You know, I mean, it's if you
We
think
must have Darth Vader. as
I was going to
Mufasa.
say, imagine trying to get somebody else to do Darth Vader's voice. You know, I mean, when you want James Earl Jones, you want it. Look, one day there'll be a day that there is no James Earl Jones, so let's keep using him as long as we can.
I mean, by then we'll have enough recordings of his voice that we'll just.
That's true. He should basically record Siri. You know, just record all of every syllable that he could possibly use. And you know what? Maybe the folks at Disney are doing that for future Darth Vader movies. But again, that doesn't have much to do with Broadway, does
Yeah.
it?
And I just checked, Lion King's coming out 2019.
2019.
All right, so we got a lot of time to plan.
I mean, think about it. Like, they say live action, but is it really live action? Because you know that everything will be CGI.
Right. I mean,
It's just a different form of cartoon.
yeah. The live action Beauty and the Beast was certainly there were people on set, but
Yeah,
it
there's
was not.
0 people in,
Yeah.
unless they add a role for people in this, which would be weird.
I hope not. Yeah.
I hope not to.
Yeah. Well, they usually have to. They always add one new song, right, so that they can be eligible for
the
yeah.
Oscars.
So there'll just be some random guy who comes in, you know, and he's just
Let's
like,
just have Jonathan Taylor Thomas come in randomly.
that would be amazing.
He was the voice of young
I
Simba.
know.
Let's see him as an
Yeah. Good for JTT. Yeah.
So, your part of the news,
Oh,
though.
so my
It's
news is
tickets on sale
so
today.
for people here in Los Angeles, the general on sale for Hamilton happened today, and for people who tried to do the pre-sale and were very frustrated because all that came up were like, well, those tickets aren't available, but do you want these for $650? And the answer is never
No.
yes. I was lucky enough to get some with my family, and my wife's extended family were all going to go. There's going to be 6 of us. We're going to go in October, and I know the show's great from what everybody says, but this comes from the thing I said before. When you don't listen to the music, you don't actually know for yourself.
And I commend you for this long being able to stay away from the music.
I've seen one song. It's the one they did on the Grammys, and I was a little underwhelmed, but I think because it was on TV and not on stage. That's part of the reason why I like to experience it in the theater for the first time, because what's cool about it is going to be what you see there. Yeah. So I'm just trying to get myself excited for it, but I don't want to listen to the music. So I don't know how to do that. You know, to take a page from Jesus Christ Superstar, I don't know how to love Hamilton. And I just want to know how in the, 6 months until I go and see it. So
I got something for you, Kristian.
Yes, please.
Why don't you watch Lin-Manuel Miranda do Drunk History on Alexander Hamilton?
that sounds like
That should do
I
it.
didn't even know he did a drunk
Yeah, he did do
history.
a
They
Drunk
did.
History.
It
All
was,
right.
It was like their season finale this past year, and I'm with you. I have to wait till December to go, and I'm not listening to music either.
Yeah, see, I get why people do it, especially when you don't live in, a major city that has even a touring company.
I'm the opposite. I listen to entire albums before I go and see a show.
Is it
and
so
I know
you
all
can
the-
stand up and shout along the words with the cast?
I don't speak them out loud. I just mouth them.
That'd be funny if you filmed yourself just mouthing along an entire, 2.5 hour musical.
Hey, for certain ones, it works. It
Yeah.
worked for Hedwig.
Oh, yeah. I guess it would. But, yeah, no, look, I'm not complaining that I got the Hamilton tickets. I'm glad it worked. It was a little bit of an ordeal, because of the pre-sale. And I have several months to get excited about it. And I think I'm just I'm on the outside looking in because I haven't already seen it. I don't know the music. And I'm looking forward to finding out what this whole Hamilton
We'll
thing's
have
all
to bring
about.
you back in after
After I
October
see
just
it,
to give you a little
absolutely. Yeah.
excerpt of what you thought of it from never having heard or seen any of it before
Yeah.
besides the Grammys.
Yeah, and then I could just play up just for the sake of the show. I could act like I didn't like it, even if I did. Just be like, oh, it was terrible. But anyway.
Be the grouchy man.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's about it for today. Like we said, we'll see you next week for the film, Jesus Christ Superstar. Kristian will be back with us. And until then, you guys can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat, and on Wednesdays, you can find me on our Speechless After Show on AfterBuzz TV.
And you can find me, Kristian Bladt, at Kristian DMZ. I'm on The Tomorrow Show with our friend Kevin Undergaro, Mondays and Thursdays. I have Mets Rap 360 on AfterBuzz TV Sundays, just in a little while. And the Trump Report Tuesdays and the Mystery Science Theater 3000 After Show on
He's
Fridays.
all over the place.
That's all I got. That's everything.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Have a great one.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.